We're going to go over word problems involving area and circumference of a circle in this video. So if you haven't watched my videos involving area and circumference given the radius or the diameter, I'll link those in the description so you can go ahead and watch those before you watch this word problems video. So if you're here to watch word problems because you understand area and circumference of a circle, I encourage you to pause the video on every single problem and try and solve it yourself, and then play the video when you think you have the correct answer. Right, so I'm just going to jump right into number one. It says the diameter of Dan's table is 5 feet. What is the area in square feet of Dan's table? So just by reading that, there's a couple things that I think are important to underline here. The first one is the diameter, or the full length of the circle, is 5 feet. And another thing that I think is important is really the question. What are you trying to solve here? It says, what is the area in square feet of Dan's table? So I'm just going to box that question in. And then I'm also going to circle what I'm solving for, which is area. Now, for area of a circle, the formula is area equals pi times the radius, or half the length of the circle, squared. And for my prior videos involving area and circumference, I approximated pi as 3.14. And I'm going to continue to utilize 3.14 in place of pi for every single calculation that I do, right? So let's go ahead and solve for area. So we have area equals pi times the radius squared. However, I'm not given the radius. I'm given the diameter, or the full length of the circle, which is 5 feet. So to figure out the radius, we need to take our diameter and cut it in half. So half of 5 is 2.5, or 2.5 feet. So I'm going to plug in 2.5 in place of my r for radius. So we have area equals, and since we are approximating for pi at 3.14, I'm going to change this equal sign to an approximately, since we're not using the exact value for pi. Then we have 3.14 times our radius, which is 2.5 to the second power. And now let's go ahead and multiply these. If we utilize the order of operations, the exponent comes first. So we have 2.5 times 2.5, and we end up getting 6 and 2500. So we have area is approximately 3.14 times 6 and 2500. Now, if we go ahead and multiply it by 3.14, we end up getting the area to approximately be 19 and 6300, and our units of measurement would be square feet. Now, remember, for area, your units of measurement always needs to be squared, whereas circumference, it shouldn't be squared. Now, looking at our answer choices, we don't have 19 and 6300 exactly as an answer choice, but we do have one that's close to it, which would end up being C, or 20 square feet for the first one. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Let me clear the calculator, move it out of the way, and now let's move on to number 2. Number 2 says the figure to the right represents a circular walkway, and in rounded to the nearest square foot, what is the area of the walkway? So again, I'm going to box in my question here. What is the area of the walkway? And I'll just circle the term that we are focusing in on, area. And we know that formula, because we just did it, is area equals pi times the radius squared. And again, I'm approximating pi at 3.14. Now let's take a look at the figure on the right. Now, it's supposed to represent a circular walkway, and we know a radius is half the length of the circle, and r is in my area formula. So we want to figure out what that length is of the radius so I can plug it into my formula. And the biggest thing here is you need to focus in on the key. The key tells you that every little square on that figure is representing 1/4 of a foot. Let's count how many squares it takes to make a radius. So let's start from the center and go to one outer edge of the circle. So we have 1 square, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares to make up a radius, or half the length of the circle. So let's take 1/4, because each square is 1/4 of a foot, and let's multiply that by the 7 squares that we had. So if we multiply those, I'm going to change 7 into an improper fraction. So we have 1/4 times 7/1. If I multiply my numerators together, or my top numbers, 1 times 7 is 7, and my denominators or bottom numbers, 4 times 1 is 4, we get 7/4, and as a nice mixed number, it's going to end up being 1 3/4 feet, right? And I'm going to utilize that in place of r for my radius. So let's go ahead and solve this. So area is approximately, again, not using the exact value for pi, we have 3.14 times the radius, and I'm just going to change it to a decimal to make it the same as pi, because that's a decimal as well, which is 1 75/100 squared. Now, utilizing order of operations, once again, we'll do the exponent first. So 1 75/100 times 1 75/100, we end up getting 3, and we'll just go to the hundreds place, so 3 600. So area is approximately 3.14 times 3 600. And now let's go ahead and multiply this by pi. When we do that, we get area to approximately be 9 6200, and the units of measurement is again feet, but since it's area, it needs to be square feet. Now it says rounded to the nearest square foot. That means the only answer choice that makes sense is A, 10 square feet, if you are rounding to the nearest square foot. Okay, so that's it for the first two. And now let's go ahead and move on to our third one. Hopefully, if you're pausing the video, you've gotten 1 and 2 right. And now let's hop into number 3. Number 3 says rounded to the nearest inch, what is the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 12 inches? So a couple important things here. We're not looking for area anymore, but we are looking for the circumference of a circle. And it gives us that the diameter, or the full length of the circle, is 12 inches. So formulas for circumference, there's two different ones. The one is circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, and the other one is circumference equals pi times the diameter. Now, it doesn't matter which one you utilize, but for this particular problem, I'm going to utilize the second one because we're given diameter, and diameter's already in this formula. So let's go ahead and solve for the circumference of this particular circle. So we have circumference is approximately, again, 3.14 for pi, times the diameter, which is 12 inches. And let's go ahead and multiply those two values together. So we have 12 times 3.14, and we end up getting the circumference to approximately be 37 6800, and we're dealing with inches, not square inches, because circumference, you should not be squaring your units of measurement. Now, looking at our answer choices, we're rounding it to the nearest inch, so the only answer choice that makes sense for us is B, 38 inches. Okay, and let's move on to our very, very last one. So again, let me get the calculator out of the way, clear it for the next problem. And number 4 says a circular fence is put up at the base of a monument. The circular fence has a radius of 15 feet. What is the circumference of the circular fence? So a couple things that are important in this one. The radius, or half the length of the circle, is 15 feet. And also what the question is asking us to solve for is important as well. And this time around, we're looking for the circumference. Okay, again, two formulas to find circumference. Circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, or circumference equals pi times diameter. Now, this time around, we're given the radius length, so I'm going to utilize the first formula since radius is already involved in it. So let's go ahead and solve for circumference. So circumference is approximately, and we have 2 times 3.14 times our radius, which is 15 feet. And then let's go ahead and multiply these together. So we have 2 times 3.14, we get 6 2800, and then let's multiply that by 15. So our circumference is approximately 94 2/10. Now, looking at our answer choices, the only one that would make sense is D, 94 feet, right? That's the 4 problems I have for you on area and circumference of a circle. And hopefully after watching this video, you'll be able to solve area and circumference of a circle word problems a little bit better. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next video.